Hi and welcome to a very special episode of Cheltenham Chatting. It's something I was wanting to do about the Willie Mullins graded horses, but with a comment that came in last week, I just thought, well, I'd assess the Mullins challenge, the other Irish trainers all amalgamated together as one part, and the UK challenge as the final part, and give them a percentage chance of winning each of the graded races, which there are 19. And obviously you're going to come up with figures which are, 0.1 of a winner here and there, 10% chance of winning. But when you add them all together, you can come up with a conclusion. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you'll understand what I'm trying to do in the video. Give an assessment of a Willie Mullins trained winner in the Supreme, another Irish trained winner in the Supreme, and then finally an English challenger in the Supreme and what sort of chance they've got, and then adding all those percentages together on a daily basis and on the weekly basis to come up with a conclusion. And you may have a totally different assessment. To me, I've put Galopin Deschamps in the Brown Advisory because, contrary to what's been said, I think that's where he'll go. It may not be where he goes, and then the Turners becomes an even bigger certainty for the Irish, but the Brown Advisory becomes very open. So you'll have to put your own slant on it, but this is my assessment in each race, percentage wise, of the chances of a Willie Mullins winner, another Irish winner, or a UK winner. So I hope you'll enjoy this video. In the Supreme, I feel Willie Mullins has a stark deck, really. He has the choice between Sir Gerhard, Kilcrat, Dysart Dynamo, and a few others like Stateman, etc., El Fabiolo. And I still believe that he's going to be all out to try and win the Supreme. So I gave Willie about a 55% chance of winning the Supreme this season with that sort of firepower. Clearly, the English challenge is quite good in this race with Constitution Hill and John Bon, and I gave them around a 0.4 chance of winning the race, 40% chance of winning the race. Some people will say that chance is bigger. I'm not convinced about Constitution Hill's form, and although I may have the race wrong, I gave them about a 40% chance of winning this race. Now I'll give you totals at the end of each day and then summarise everything that I'm talking about at the end of the video, and I hope people understand what I'm trying to do. I'm giving my assessment of these horses and where I think they'll go, and an overall assessment at the end. The other 0.05 chance in the race I would give to the two Gordon Elliott horses, Mighty Potter and 2 Three Stripe Life. So overall I think that Willie holds a strong hand in the Supreme. In the Arkle, with Blue Lord, Hot on Colour and Saint Sam, I gave Willie about a 45% chance of winning this race. Obviously, there are other Irish horses in the race, Riviere d'Etel and Cours Sublime. I gave them around a 20% chance between them. Maybe that was a bit high. I do quite fancy Riviere d'Etel. And I gave the English horses, Edward Stone, etc., 0.35% or 35% chance of winning the Arkle. I'm a little bit concerned that Edward Stone's a little bit overrated in the market. That's just my own personal opinion. Others may have put the English challenge at a bit higher than 35%. For me, 35% is around where I see the English challenge. In the Champion Hurdle, because I'm assessing Willies on their own, I assessed Appreciate about a 20% chance of winning the Champion Hurdle. But I have to say that the main bulk of the Champion Hurdle market is taken up with other Irish runners, and I gave them a 65% chance of winning. That includes Honeysuckle, Tehupu and Zana here. So that only left really as an English challenger Epatante at the top of the market on Adagio, and I gave them around a 10% chance of winning the Champion Hurdle. So already you can see a bit of a theme here. In the Mayor's Hurdle, with Willie having Burning Victory, Stormy Ireland and Echoes in Rain. I gave him around a 30% chance in this race. I do think Burning Victory's got a decent chance. I don't think Echoes in Rain will go, and Stormy Ireland's well fancied by others, but not really by me. I gave the other Irish horses in this, which would include the favourite Tell Me Something Girl, Heaven Help Us, and a couple of others, around a 55% chance of winning this, with the English Challenge really revolving around Marie's Rock to a big extent, and I gave her about a 10% chance of winning the race. And finally, in the National Hunt Chase on day one, Startler would represent Willie Mullins, and I gave him around a 25% chance of winning the race, with the other Irish Challenge being around the 65% mark. And that would include Run Wild Fred, Vanillier, Farouk Delaine, the Beacon Edges of this world. And I didn't really fancy the English horses in this, and I gave them only a 10% chance, and that would be Pat's Fancy, perhaps 3 under through 5, and a couple of others. And that meant on day one that I assessed it as Willie Mullins would probably, out of the 5 races, the graded races, be looking to have about, I know this is a silly figure, but I assessed his chances of about 1.8 winners, which is around 2. I think the other Irish horses will have around 2, and I thought the English Challenge came to 1.15. And obviously I'll add these up at the end, because you're only giving a percentage chance of these horses winning. So I would see Willie having a decent chance of having around 2 winners, the other Irish horses having around another 2 of the graded winners, and the English probably having 1 of the graded winners overall. I couldn't name which one it would be, but that overall is my assessment of day one, with 5 graded races, Mullins having 2 winners, the other Irish trainers having 2 winners, and probably 1 horse from England winning on day one. Day 2 was really difficult to assess. I found it the most difficult day to do. But in the Ballymore, I thought that there was a good chance that probably one of the Mullins horses would defect, but I didn't really feel that they should be as low priced as what they indicate they would be. I still feel there's a good chance that the other Irish trainers could stitch up the Mullins runner in this. He could have Dysart Dynamo, Sir Gerhard, Manila Cocooner, a couple of others like the Nice Guy perhaps dropping down in distance. But I only assessed Mullins' chance in this at about 0.3, where I'm sure a lot of people would think if Sir Gerhard or Dysart Dynamo went here, they'd be odds on. I don't really see it like that myself. I think that a sensible Irish trainer with a decent chance in this, like Gordon Elliott, would really target and make this a staying test. I don't think giving Sir Gerhard or Dysart Dynamo an easy lead in the Ballymore is going to be a good idea. I assessed the other Irish horses in this at a 0.45 chance of winning the race. I believe that there are good Irish horses in the other yards that could come and pick off a horse, a 2-miler going up 5 furlongs here. I'm thinking about Ginto, Journey with Me, horses like those who I think there will be an Irish winner of this, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be the one who defects from the Supreme. So I felt the other Irish horses probably held sway. The 2 English runners in this I gave a 25% chance to, and that's Walking on Air and Stage Star of Paul Nicholls. I think that's about right for their chances, really. They're both around 8-10 to 1, and I think overall between the 2 I would give them about a 25% chance of winning the race. And I assessed this race as a Irish trained winner, but not from Mullins. In the Brown Advisory, I thought there was a 50% chance of a Mullins winner, because I'm still convinced that Galopin Des Champs will go here, and I'd seriously give Capodanno a very good chance in this as well, and perhaps Gallard Dumenil. It all depends. That's why I found the day 2 very difficult, because of trying to assess which runners would go where. But I gave Willie Mullins about a 50% chance of winning the Brown Advisory. The other Irish horses, Beacon Edge, Farouk Delaine, etc., I gave them about a 0.05% chance of winning this. And I assessed the English challenge. I do like Braveman's game. I think he's got a good chance in this. 3 under, 3-5 could run here as well. And the Hoy Senior, I gave them about a 45% chance of winning the Brown Advisory. So that was my assessment of that. And the Champion Chase, I thought with Chacun Pour Soi and Energumene, I gave Mullins a 35% chance of winning this race. The other Irish horses, really, I wouldn't really assess them as having a whole lot of chance. And I thought, with England being represented by Shiskin, who's odds on, and backed up by Nubi Negra and a couple of others, I thought probably in this race that the English challenge had about a 65% chance of winning the Champion Chase, mainly because of Shiskin. But I didn't really feel, I suppose Put the Kettle On could have been put in for the other Irish horses, but I don't really see her winning this year. So I had this between Mullins and the English challengers. In the cross country, Mullins has got no chance of winning this. The other Irish horses, I believe, I've got about an 85% chance of winning this, because they've got so many of the runners. A lot of their horses are over the banks. And I didn't really like the English challenge in this, even though there are going to be a lot of English runners like Back on the Lash, etc. I only give them a 15% chance of winning the cross country. And in the Champion Bumper, well, I gave Willie Mullins a 75% chance of winning the bumper with Facile Vega, Redemption Day, James's Gate, Mercury, just list after list of Mullins horses. And the only other contender I can see is American Mike, who I gave a 25% chance of winning the race. I'm sure Gordon Elliott will have something else, but I do have this race between Mullins and Elliott, and so that was my assessment of that race. And when all those came out, it came out to 1.9 winners for Willie Mullins, the other Irish horses at 1.5, and the English horses at 1.6. So there is a bit of I'm not really sure. I would be pretty confident that Willie Mullins would have 2 winners on the day, but it could be split between the other Irish horses and the English. It could be that England get 2 on this day. I thought this was their best chance on the day, with Gentleman's Game, with Shiskin, and a few others that could possibly run well. And I thought this could be the best day for English trained runners in the graded races, but it could turn out to be 5-0 still. It does depend on a lot of horses and where they go on day 2, but that was how I assessed day 2. On day 3, because I'd assessed Galopin des Champs as going to the Brown Advisory, I gave Willie Mullins only about a 15% chance of winning the Turners. He'd have to be taking a horse from another race, either from the Arkle or from the Brown Advisory, and the horses I looked at were Hot on Couleur, Saint Sam, Gallard du Mesnil and Jungle Boogie, and I only gave them about a 15% chance of winning the race. The big possibility is that this is going to go to the other Irish trainers, and especially with Bob Bollinger in the race. And I'm not really a big fan of the home press, so I assessed this going to the other Irish trainers at 65%, which mainly was due to Bob Bollinger, and then the English challenge of La Home Press at about 20%. Now, I keep saying this is only my assessment, and like what I want to come to is an overall conclusion, which will come after day 4. In the Ryanair, I have Willie Mullins at 85% chance of winning the Ryanair. He's got Allaho, Janadil, perhaps Tornado Flyer, but plenty of horses for him. And I didn't really fancy the other Irish horses at all in this. And the only other horse I gave much chance to was Sham Blue, and I only really gave him about a 15% chance of toppling the other Irish horses. Well, mainly the Mullins battalion. I suppose I've maybe left out Conflated, but for me, Allaho's going to win the Ryanair, and if he doesn't, I think one of the other Mullins runners will win. The Stayers Hurdle was really, really difficult. I think it's the hardest race in the graded races. I gave Classical Dream on a Stadium for Lawns for Mullins a 20% chance of winning the race. I assessed Floating Porter and the other Irish challengers, such as Ronald Pamp, etc., about 30% chance of winning this race. And I feel this is a race that the English will be trying to win with Time Hill, Paisley Park and Champ in this race. And I assessed their chance in this race at 50%. So, yeah, this is one that I think the English horses would need to win. If they're going to do better than last year, I think the Stayers is a race that they're going to be having to sort of nick off the Irish. The Mare's Novice, I made the Mullins charge here 65% chance of having the winner. They've got Brandy Love, Dino Blue, Grandji, so taking up quite a lot of the top of the market. Allegory Devossi, nothing's been said about this horse now. Everyone, there was rumours last week that this horse was injured, and perhaps the horse is injured because there's been nothing said about this horse for quite a while now. I still think that they've got a great chance. I looked at the other Irish challengers. There's a few, and mainly Party Central, but added with the others, I gave them a 25% chance. And then the English challenge of Nurse Susan, Love Envoy and LA Bell, I only gave a 10% chance to, because I really don't feel that the mares in this country will challenge those horses. So with only 4 graded races on that day, I looked at it, looked like about 1.85 to me for Mullins, 1.2 to the other Irish horses, and 0.95 to the English. Now that means that the English are going to have to pick up a winner here somewhere, and it's more than likely to be in the Stayers. If they do, Mullins looks like he'll pick up 2, and the other Irish horses look like they'll pick up the other 1. It's whether the 20%, 15%, 50% or 10% chances can pull that into one winner for the British horses on the day. On day 4 we had the final 5 graded races, and I assessed the chances of Vauban, Ilatea and Akira Len at about 40% chance of a Mullins winner in this race. The other Irish horses obviously are going to be Pied Piper and Phil Dor to a major extent. I gave them a 40% chance as well, with Night Salute and Porticello heading the British Challenge being given a 20% chance. I'll be honest and say that I really fancy Vauban in this, and I would probably have put the percentages a bit higher towards Mullins in this race but I tried to look at the odds and be more sort of level-headed about it. I mean, I'd probably say that Vauban's up there with Allaho for me as one of the better bets of the week, but I only gave them a 40% chance for Mullins in this race overall. In the Albert Bartlett, I think Mullins has a poor challenge in this. I know people think that Manila Cocooner's got a good chance. I think What Do You Want would be his best chance if he could run it. But with his runners, I think the Nice Guy could be an outsider for him. But I didn't really see a whole lot in this race that really would give Mullins much chance of winning the Albert Bartlett. Perhaps he's going off putting horses into this, but I only give him a 10% chance of winning the Albert Bartlett. I mean, he could pull a rabbit out the hat, but I don't feel he will. The other Irish challengers, I feel there are quite a few challengers. I think maybe I'm looking at my figures now and thinking I've maybe got them a little bit wrong, but I've given the other Irish challengers, because I feel like the horses like Ginto, Manila Crooner, etc. in this race, I gave them a 60% chance in this, but perhaps I've been a wee bit over-egged that a little bit. And the English challenge, I gave a 30% chance of winning this race, and that's mainly going to be Hillcrest in this race, and I think he's got a really good chance. But even looking at the odds, he's around 9-2, so I've even maybe pushed his challenge out a bit. But I think probably the most likely winner is another Irish trainer winning this. I don't see Mullins winning this unless, like I say, he pulls a rabbit out the hat. But I mean, the Nice Guy is a good horse, and he could have something up his sleeve we don't know about. The Gold Cup, I gave Mullins a 20% chance of winning this, with the other Irish horses mainly a 70% chance. That includes a Plutard, Manila Indo, Galvin. I would say that the winner's most likely to be another Irish trainer rather than Mullins, who's got Album Photo and Tornado Flyer. The English Challenge is not very strong for me. I don't fancy Protectorate at all and Chantry House, so I only give them a 10% chance of winning the Gold Cap this season. In the Fox Hunters, I'm beginning to come round to Billoway a little bit, but he's the major challenger for Willie Mullins. I gave him a 25% chance of winning the race, which sort of is on par with his odds at about 11 to 4, 3 to 1. The other Irish challenge, I think, is probably a bit stronger than the English challenge with Winged Leader, etc. and I gave them a 45% chance of winning the race. And then the English challenge at 30%, which they have had a good record in the Fox Hunters of pulling it out the fire, like Porlock Bay last season and the Paul Nicholls winners as well. So I gave them a 30% chance in that race. Perhaps that was a little bit generous. And then finally in the Mares Chase, Concertista and Ellie May, I made a 70% chance actually. Perhaps that's a bit big because Mount Ida's in there for Gordon Elliott. I gave the other Irish horses in this because I think it will only be Mount Ida. Really, if Put the Kettle On, that would change, went here, but I think Mount Ida is the only other challenger. I've really underestimated her and put it in at 20%. I think this jumping right is going to cost her in the Mares Chase, and although she stays well, I don't think she'll get away with what she did last year in the Kimure, so I only give her a 20% chance. With the English challenge of the Glancing Queen and Vienna Court, etc., I only give them a 10% chance. I do think the Irish mares are well ahead, and that gave me totals on day 4 of Mullins 1.65, the other Irish horses 2.35, and England 1, so I'm looking at one English winner. But again, it's going to be a horse that nobody's probably thinking about that's going to be, it's possibly going to be Hillcrest, or it's going to be an outsider in one of the other races, perhaps in the Fox Hunters. So that was my assessment of day 4, and I'll just conclude with a summary. So giving out the final figures, now obviously these can't really happen, but when you add all those percentages together, it gives me a figure for Willie Mullins of 7.2 winners out of these 19 races. You can't have that, so you say 7. You say for the other Irish horses 7.1, the figure comes out. That would be 7 winners for them. And then the UK horses come out with 4.7, which is 5. But I would say in reality it could be 15 graded winners or 14 graded winners to Ireland and 4 or 5 to England. That could change a lot. It could be 17-2, but it could be 10-7. It will depend a lot on some of the UK good chances. The likes of Hillcrest, the likes of Champ and Paisley Park in the Stairs Hurdle on Time Hill, whether they can produce and win the races or whether the Irish dominance will continue and their horses will. You know, should these sort of horses get beaten, then it could be worse than 14-5. It could be up to 16-3. It will depend a lot on some of those horses. It will depend a lot on Constitution Hill and John Bond. Can they beat the Irish Challenge in the Supreme? That will be an important race, as will the Arkle. Is Edward Stone better than I've assessed him? He could give the English or the British a winner there. So this is just me playing my assessment on the percentage game, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll be back with Cheltenham Chat on Sunday. I may be back with a bet before that, but this is just my assessment of how I see things going in 2 weeks' time with regards to the graded races. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.